Hi, I'm your Kingdom Spiritual Transformational and Life Purpose Life Coach and Mentor Latricia Booker here with Kingdom Business, where we are empowered. When we heal, we get delivered and we get free. We know who we are. We elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose and power, and that is the truth of who God has created us to be. Kingdom people, we are. We are history makers. We are world changers. We are dream successors. We are wealth generators. We are manifestors. We are curse breakers. And we most definitely are transformers. More than meets the eye. Yeah, kingdom people, we are. Kingdom people, thank you all so very much for viewing my videos. Thank you for all the likes, subscribes, the shares, comments, and feedback, for all your financial contributions to my channel, and for all the seeds you sow into me and my ministry. Kingdom people, thank you for all of your purchases, for all of your bookings. Thank you for all of your encouragement. Kingdom people, thank you for all that you do here on Kingdom Business. Kingdom people, thank you. So, Kingdom people, I am on location, and you already know what I'm here to do. And if you don't know, then now you know. I am here to drop this beat, this word, this message. Yeah. So, Kingdom people, I am the chain breaker, and you are chain breakers too, Kingdom people. Are y'all ready to break these chains? Let's go. So, Kingdom people, come on. Come on. Let me upgrade you. Let me activate you. Let me elevate you. Come on, Kingdom people. So, Kingdom people, they were trying to poke holes in your stuff. Kingdom people, they were trying to poke holes in your life, in your destiny, in your inheritance, in your greatness, in your kingdom people. They was trying to poke holes in your stuff. Now let me tell y'all what had happened this morning. God was speaking to me, and he was talking to me about it's a past situation that came up once again. And God was just telling me about this past person. I was in a past situationship. How this person feels like they need my energy, need me around to prosper, to do well, to elevate again. Because when I was in their life, that's what they were doing. But that person went left and became an enemy. They began to try to destroy me. And so what they were doing was trying to poke holes in my stuff, in my life, trying to keep me from elevating. And so God was just pointing out to me how they feel like they need me now. So every time God would say anything to me concerning that, I would say, but they the devil. I just kept saying, but they the devil. But they the devil. And so I had something playing in the background, and right as I'm going back and forth with God, as he telling me these different things that this person has going on, I kept saying, they the devil. It was a video playing on my phone in the background, and this person said that there are evil people around you trying to get your attention because they want to learn from you how you do what you do. And I said to God, like I said, they the devil. But what struck me about what the person was saying, how it went hand in hand with the conversation that God and I were having, is they started off saying there are evil people around you that are trying to get your attention in weird ways. Evil people was the key word for me. I'm like, see, evil people trying to get your attention, but to learn from you, to learn and see how you do what you do. So that means that even evil people will try to learn from you and see what you do. They trying to learn how you do what you do. They trying to find your secrets. But this is just what stemmed, where the whole conversation came from, where it stemmed from, should I say, that led into this message. So I go on with my day. I'm going on about my business. I'm in the bathroom getting myself together. And God brings up this person again. And God reminded me and took me back to a time when I was still around this person. And when I was still around this person has had this way about themselves. Eventually, I mean, it was always there, but it just got worse and it got more intense. Where they would be around, they would act real calm, but the way they were acting was like they was holding something in, and it was like a real sneaky energy. And I would notice it, and it felt off, it felt weird, and if I would even say it felt evil, but I could not quite put my finger on it at the time. But I would notice it and I paid attention to it. And so, along with that, God was bringing this to my attention. Okay, I have to say this. I was trying to avoid this, but I don't think I can. I try not to talk about this too much, but for some reason, God keep bringing it up and having me speak on it. This was someone that I was married to previously. I guess if you want to call it a marriage, whatever. So it was a learning experience for me. It taught me. That's what I called it. But anyhow, one day, first of all, let me say this. I was in school for years. I had a daughter who had special needs. She was developmentally delayed. So for years, ever since I had her, I had to kind of be there for her. And even the times and periods that she was in school, I really couldn't work like that because I kind of had to be available for her, and I wasn't comfortable like and it was just a situation where the care that she needed, like before and after school care, if I was to work, it just wasn't available. It wasn't, not only wasn't that available, it just wasn't a thing at the time. It was like God had me where I was the one that needed to care for her. So it put me in a situation where I really couldn't work. So the money that I received, my income, all revolved around her. I was able to make money and do things where it kind of sort of revolved around her. So it worked. God set me up this way. And so during that time, I also wanted to advance myself. I just have that, I always had that kind of drive and ambition to, advance myself and learn and move forward in life. And so what I did is God had led me to continue school. So I took online courses, and I completed a master's degree program and a doctor's degree program online. And what happened was, like I said, I had to be there for my daughter. I had to care for her. So I had to do something where I could still be at home, still be available to her, and be able to take care of her when she got home, and be in a place where if I needed to go get her, because sometimes I had to go and get her from school, not much, but things just happened. But this is where God had me at the time. So what was happening is I was just going to school for the most part. And during that time, I also did a lot of learning. I always was a learner. Personal growth and development. I did a lot of reading. I can remember going through a period where I was just studying Jesus, like literally. I was just studying Jesus, reading up on Jesus and the history, and I learned a lot. And that's kind of how I really fell in love with Jesus. Even though I had a love for him already, when I learned more about him and studied more about him, it just enhanced and intensified my love for him. And so, anyhow, like I was saying, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm doing what I'm doing. I read a lot. Like I said, a lot of personal development and growth, other things too, but a lot of that spiritual material, inspirational material. This is where God had me. And so in all that, clearly, obviously, I was growing, I was learning, I was evolving, I was getting insight and understanding. I stayed at the library because I checked out a lot of the books that I read, but I bought books too, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million at back then at the time. And there was another one, I don't see them too much anymore, Borders. Yeah, Borders. So I would buy books, got plenty of books. And I'm still that way today where I read. I'm a reader. So anyhow, I'm in school. I'm doing what I'm doing. And I can remember one time God brought this back to my attention today. This person made a statement one day and said, I'd be glad when you finish school so I could take a break. And so I noticed that because I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say this to the person, but I'm thinking, take a break on what? Because this person worked. One thing I can say about this person, they worked. They would work. They worked. They kept the job. They kept, so which is great. But I was where God had me. So um, that was that. But that was letting me know at the time that this person was looking to put themselves on me, or looking for me to be the one to carry the bigger part of the weight in a situation. I noticed it, didn't say nothing. There was a lot in that situation that I noticed and never said nothing. I just paid attention. And like I said, I was learning, some things even about him and people like that, should I say. So it's a thing where right now, these days I see it, off top. Not that I even deal with people like that anymore, because I don't. I was where I was then. Where I am now wouldn't even attract nobody like that. Well, I take that back. People like that still try me, but y'all already know it's like this. It's a no. And they know it's a no. Anyhow, so what happened was, we went on about my business. I ended up graduating, out of the last program. And I was always on this thing where I wanted to do my own businesses. But I would work little jobs. After I graduated, I went out there and I went to see what was out there. I actually started this one thingy. Was on, what was the name? Monster.com. I had put my resume on Monster.com. Some insurance people reached out to me. Some people reached out to me. I went to go check it out, and that's what I found out it was. It was, insurance. It was to sell insurance. So I'm going through the class and everything and doing everything, but I had to go back to they had like different meetings that I had to go back to in the process. And what was happening was eventually I bagged up out of that, because what God was showing, back then it reminded me of The Devil's Advocate, the movie, because I would be in these meetings with these people, they were group meetings, and I would literally see their demons. Like I don't know if you all remember or seen The Devil's Advocate, the movie about the young lawyer who was hooked up with these group of people, and his wife was experiencing the wives of these other lawyers within the firm, and their distortion, the distortion of their demons, and would show itself, and she would see it. And so she was like kind of going crazy, over it. But what was being exposed to her was that they were demons, they were devils. And so that's what I would see. And that's not the only time I've seen this. I see it all the time. But during this time, I would see this. I would be sitting in these meetings and be seeing this. And I would just still stay there. And I kept going with it because, like I said, I was driven. What they were sharing, it sounded good. And I started taking a class. It was cool. I was in it. But eventually, God told me, girl, if you don't withdraw from that, because he was just showing me all these demons and devils. You looking right at him. And then he brought Devil's Advocate to me, literally, the movie. And he was showing me this is what this is. So I had to let that go. Another time, I actually, got in touch with somebody, a realtor, and I actually completed those classes, real estate classes, to be a real estate salesperson. And so anyhow, let me okay, so those are other things that I did outside of the degree programs once I was done with school. And so what happened was I did go looking for to see what was out there. I did a few interviews for jobs. It wasn't working out. It was either a thing or no, that's just not for me, or they even felt that way. We both felt that way, I had to jump through too many hoops, and I just wasn't feeling it. And I even had the attitude, because what happened was, because I hadn't been working for years with such a degree of that magnitude, people were looking for people with experience too. Like when you look for these jobs and the requirements, you could have the education. They wanted that education, but they wanted so many years of experience in whatever it was. And I didn't have that because I hadn't been working for years. But I had this attitude that I can work my way to the top. I did. I had the attitude, but what I found in going through these processes is that I ain't getting ready to be doing all this, because they had me like already before I was even in there jumping through some hoops, through too many hoops, which I wasn't willing to do. I just felt like it wasn't worth it, Also, there were some instances where I could just see that the places were very unorganized. And before I could even get in there, when I would be going through the process, I would be in there and going through certain processes, you know, and they were just so unorganized, I would back out. So all this was all God saying, this ain't for you. And so what I end up doing, I would do little part-time jobs. I even did tax preparation at one point. Some place was offering the class to learn taxes or whatever. And I learned, took the class, and I did well in the class, and so they wanted to hire me on. So I did. I accepted, and I worked part-time. And so when I would work part-time, and I also did home care, that was like my thing at the time, like PCA and home health care and those kind of things. I used to love to do that, by the way. And so what happened was I would do those kind of jobs, but I would do it part-time so I could do it while my daughter was in school. And so I also learned that that kind of worked better for me, and let me tell you why. Because doing it was one point in time where I couldn't understand when people would say they had to make a choice between paying rent and eating. I didn't understand it, because I would be like, well, if they need to eat, why can't they just go get food stamps? That's what they for. But I later came to learn that people like that, if they work and they only making a certain minimum amount of money, they can barely make it. And then food stamps was not an option because they were not eligible for them. So it alerted me to be careful in how I handled myself. It's kind of like I had to work the system, but not work it in a way where I wanted to just be in a system. I never wanted to be in a system. I used it as a stepping stone and to work my way out. I used to hear people feel like when they got Section 8, they had it made. I always had the thing where I was trying to get out of it. You know, even if I had to use it as a stepping stone, even if I had to use it as a stepping stone again, once I got out, which I had to do since then. But the point is this: I learned how to work the system. You know, I learned how to use it to my benefit and not put myself in a worse situation. So I'm saying all that to say I will work part-time. And because that's just kind of where God had me, and that's the situation I was in. What I could do, work a few hours. You know, I would do like 4 hours while my daughter's in school. So what I'm getting to is this: when I was doing that, I would notice that this person would be in that energy of, you know, it was just weird, and I could tell that he didn't like it. He didn't like that I was working. I could feel it coming off of him. But the thing that was confusing was I can remember him saying he couldn't wait until I, started working. Although this wasn't enough to cover everything, it was just little extra money for me. So, but what I brought this to somebody's attention that he didn't like me working. I was like, that's weird. Why is that? And the person that I spoke to about it, and this was an elder of mine, said because they were used to me staying home. They were used to me being home. So I thought that was weird, because I'm like, if you looking for me to go now be the one to make the money, which I wasn't with. If I was gonna make money, I was gonna make money, but I wasn't getting ready to take care of no grown man. You know, you have to do your part too. Now my whole attitude is he got to take care of me completely. Even if I got billions and billions, he need to be taking care of me. Not that I need him to, but if he's anyway, I don't want to go into all that. Let me stay focused, kingdom people. So this is all leading to how this person started trying to poke holes in my stuff. So anyhow, it became a thing where this person didn't want me to be nothing and be nobody. Once I started just moving around and doing things, and I was doing things in my way. At one point, and then at pieces at different times, I would come to them and I would share things with them and get their input. And I was honestly doing it from a place of trying to involve them, trying to make them feel like that their opinion mattered. You know, even though I almost want to say even though it didn't, but I was literally in a place trying to be that with them, which later on found out that just let this go, because that's not what it was. Because again, this person was trying to poke holes in my stuff. You can't build with someone that's trying to poke holes in you. in your life. They're destroying what you're trying to build up. Even if you're trying to build with them, they'll destroy that because they trying to poke holes in you. So this is what happened. Come to find out, this person kind of wanted to push me beneath them, and they wanted to be in my position or be what they saw in me. They wanted to be the one. They went from me wanting to take a break, you know what I'm saying, and me take over, making the money, to didn't want me to have anything. And so what they started doing was start trying to poke holes in my stuff. Even when I separated from them prior to divorcing them, I was still in contact with them, and remember I said I was taking real estate classes, and so what would happen was you had to take the state test, and many times you had to take the state test until you pass it, if you want to pass it. Many people have to take it more than once. And so that was my case. And so when you take the test, you get your results on a piece of paper. And when you go back to take the test, when you register for it, you give them that paper. So when prior to me moving completely all of my stuff out of the place that I shared with this person, I had everything packed up. And in an envelope, a brown manila envelope, what they call it, I think they call it manila, something like that. I had like my important documents in it, some of them. And when I got to the new place and I got ready to go take the test again, I went in that envelope to get the paper with my test results, and it wasn't there. So immediately I knew, it just came to me, he took them out. But this person had done that along with other things, because they were trying to poke holes in my stuff. They were trying to keep me from moving on. But the thing with that was the people still had it in their system. All I had to do was give them my information. I mean, it was still in their system, but their point was to try to stop me from moving forward, for me to being able to keep going and to succeed at, whatever I was doing with real estate at that time. Because since then it has transitioned. I'm doing other things in that way. Anyhow, where real estate is involved, I'm saying. But the point is that they were trying to poke holes in my stuff. And it was, like I said, a lot of other things, but this is what God brought to my attention this morning. He brought all this up to me, and he just kept saying they were trying to poke holes in your stuff. Nothing new. I've been on it, but it was just stirring in my spirit as he was talking to me and taking me through all these events to speak on it. Because he kept just saying they're trying to poke holes in your stuff. So kingdom people, they're trying to poke holes in your stuff, or maybe they were. Because I even had family members that were doing the same thing since I was younger. And they started seeing me kind of start to elevate and coming into some understanding of knowledge or whatever. They started trying to poke holes in my stuff. Just doing little stuff, doing little curveballs, gaslighting, and planting seeds of doubt, all that crazy stuff. Like, people like to, act like they ain't doing nothing. Even being supportive of you, so-called supportive, but really at the same time they poking holes in your stuff. So anyhow, kingdom people, God was just showing me how this person now wants to be a part of my life. Yeah, they talk stuff about me. They say ain't this and ain't that and all that. But when they hit with themselves in their own private time, they wishing, wanting, because they knew that I was the key to so many things for them. But they kind of messed it up. But this is the thing, kingdom people. They were trying to poke holes in my stuff. And this is what God showed me. He said, it's like a balloon. He said, if you poke a hole in a balloon that's blown up, what happens? The balloon shrinks. It just goes to nothing. It's not a full-blown balloon anymore. He said, when people are trying to poke holes in your stuff, that's what they're doing. They're trying to keep you from rising to the occasion, from being the full you that you are, from being the greatness in you that you are. And we know it to be the God in us, the greatness that God has put in us, rising into who God created us to be. We understand it to be that. But sometimes, and in this case with him, he wasn't thinking of it where it involved God. It was just period because of what he's seen in me. He wanted to be that he's seen in me. But he didn't want to put in the work. And he had a whole lot of stuff in him. And he still does. In fact, I've learned that it's worse. And it makes sense. Because when you go out there and do all kind of stuff, you go pick up more demons. Now you worse off than what you were. And so when God was talking to me about him this morning, kept pointing out he want this, he want this, he wish he could do this, he wanted trying to figure out how he can come back in your life, but at the same time I realized he can't. And I was saying how, but he's the devil. This is the thing, kingdom people. I'm in a whole nother relationship and a whole nother commitment. But even if I wasn't, I wouldn't ever deal with that person. Prior to me being in this situation, I wouldn't deal with that person. So it's a thing where, because you've done all that to poke holes in my stuff. And like I said, it took time. Once I removed myself from the situation, God really started to show me what was going on, but I was seeing a lot of it then. But God just, sometimes when God pull you out of a situation, you see it clearly. Sometimes when you in it, even if you know something off, you know what's going on somewhat, you don't see it clearly until you get out. I did the same thing when I left my hometown years ago. When I removed myself and God took me out, I was able to see what I was really in. I was able to see a lot of stuff that was going on that I didn't see while I was there. And since then, as of recent, God has revealed so much more. And part of it is kingdom people that they were trying to poke holes in my stuff. Kingdom people, there are people trying to poke holes in your stuff. They're trying to keep you from elevating and rising into who God created you to be. And going back to that balloon, I think it's called helium that they put in the balloon to keep it afloat and up in the air. Kingdom people, God said this to me this morning. He said they was trying to poke holes in you, just like a balloon. But just like them balloons, the ones that you let them go, I think that's helium that's in it that caused it to go all the way up to the sky. God said that's what happened with you. They was trying to poke holes in you. But God said every time they try to poke a hole in you, I had you. I wasn't letting them holes penetrate. God even brought, this even came to mind in the famous words of Dietrich Haddon. He got a song, he said, when they put you down, when they knock you down, God will brush you off and put you right back where you belong. Even when they was knocking you down or poking holes, and maybe they did have some effect on you. Maybe you did feel broken at points. Maybe you did feel like, whoa, because people was doing some blows at you, kingdom people, and you might have felt that impact. But God would dust you off, pick you up, dust you off, and put you right back where you belong. And that's why I always say these people don't have no control over what God chooses to do with you. Because what God will do with you is keep having you. He'll keep carrying you. He'll keep dusting you off and saying, come on, my child. Come on, beloved. And as long as you're going with them, these people can try to poke all the holes they want in your stuff. But God said he got you. In fact, going back to that balloon, what happens? God took you out of some of these people's hands and removed you from them, and you, just like that balloon, you got out of their reach. You two, just like a balloon, be all the way up in the sky. They can't try to poke no holes in you, because you're not even accessible to them. You way too far gone. They can't touch you, kingdom people, but they was trying to poke holes up in you, up in your stuff. They was trying to ensure that you didn't rise. Just like that balloon with that helium. But look, kingdom people, this is the other part to that. You might be around some people, and you might have to be around some people, and they may be trying to poke holes. But here's the thing, null and void. It don't work. Because when you're standing in your inner strength, your inner power, the truth of who God has created you to be, your inner resolve, your inner confidence, your inner knowing who you are in Christ Jesus, in God, they can try to poke holes, but ain't nothing happening. It's all falling to the ground. But God said what they're doing is poking holes in their own stuff. Them the same people that end up falling. Them the same people that end up shriveling up themselves. And then they looking to you for some assistance from you. They tried to poke all them holes up in your stuff, kingdom people. But really them holes was going up in them, because God got you. I'm here, touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. How dare you, is what God says. My child, my precious child, that my protected child. You can try to poke all the holes you want, but God said no, not so. So here's the thing, kingdom people, even if you're around people that are trying to poke holes in your stuff, it don't matter. As long as you're standing in your authority, in your authority, because many a times when you know what it is, that kills its power and its effect right there by itself. Even if you are not aware, you can be so much in your inner resolve that it don't even matter. You ain't got to know who's doing what. It doesn't matter, because number one, you standing in your authority, and God got you too. So even if they trying to poke holes, it's null and void. Now, I just want to point out to Kingdom people that it is very important that you let the Holy Spirit lead you, that you move how God leads you to move, because that's how you stay protected, and that's how you can prevent any effects of them trying to poke holes in your stuff, in your life, whatever it is. So yeah, Kingdom people, they was trying to poke holes all up in your stuff. And also this, I got to share this, because God brought this back to my attention today. How I've learned, and I've come to learn, I often have to share with certain people how you can't act the fool out here, be out here mishandling people, mistreating people, trying to poke holes in their stuff, and just being a clown with people, and then think everything gonna be fine with you. What I've come to learn is when you act a fool, now you feel bad. When you act a fool with people, you the one that's gonna feel depressed and not feel good about yourself afterwards. Even those ones that feel like they temporarily get a rush off of, the ones that like drama and like to do things and think it's funny and think it's fun in the moment. Trust and believe, a few minutes later, or when they get some quiet time, they feeling the effects of their actions. Because when you out here acting a clown, you gonna feel like a clown. It may take a little bit. It may take till everything calm down and you by yourself at night. You go out here fronting to people and fronting around people, but really inside yourself you dying. Well, when you keep coming at people and acting a fool, and especially when you coming at God's people, don't even have to be God's people, because he said that what you have done to the least of them, you have done unto me. So it don't matter. People need to leave people alone. But whatever you doing when you out here coming at people and messing with people, you gonna feel horrible inside. It goes back to what I was talking about in my last video about depression. I didn't get to that part of it. It just didn't come to me. But many people are depressed because they out here messing with other people. Not all. Put these things in this proper perspective. But Kingdom people, right here, they trying to poke holes up in your stuff, or they were trying to poke holes up in your stuff. Nah, they got holes all up in their stuff. They got holes all up in your stuff, but your stuff is flourishing. Your stuff is flourishing because God said so. Kingdom people, they was trying to poke holes all up in your stuff, but God got you. God is elevating you, and he got them sitting over somewhere with holes all up in their stuff. Okay, Kingdom people? Okay. So, Kingdom people, I am going to let that rest right there. If you like this video and or if it resonates with you, please just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Then click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you. Then click on that bell right next to that red subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video, something like this from Kingdom people. Also, if you are interested in any of the services that I presently offer, if you are interested in purchasing any merch or any of my products, if you are interested in sowing a seed into me or my ministry, you can find all that information right down below in the description box. Also, check out my podcast and the Facebook book group for the podcast show. All the information is right down below as well. Yeah, Kingdom people. So, Kingdom people, you all know I love you all so very much. I love you all, and I really do appreciate you being here with me. You all know I don't want to leave you, but I do have to go right now. But I will be back to hold my Kingdom people down. Now, Kingdom people, with that being said, much love, light, and peace, and many blessings to you all. Kingdom people, above all else, let the Holy Spirit lead you in all things and at all times. Kingdom people, that is my time. Jesus girl is out. Peace.